The pressure is all on Iran, militarily, diplomatically, economically, socially, culturally. And so Donald Trump thinks that he, with this maximum pressure, putting this crushing oil embargo, which, by the way, Joe Biden lifted, that he can bring them to negotiations one last time. The likely scenario is they will lose face if they negotiate away their nuclear weapons. That is the only lever they have over Western power. There's this huge Iran, and then there's Syria, and then there's Lebanon, and then there's Gaza, and then there's Yemen, and it goes way from the Turkish border all the way down in the Mediterranean here. And we're going to let you balance them off. From time to time, me being Obama, I'll come in and adjudicate. That was the whole crazy idea. And they said, are you insane? Do you think that Jordan and Israel are morally equivalent to these crazy nuts in Iran or Hezbollah? So I don't think they're going to make a deal. They're going to delay, lie, use the Houthis, and they are playing with fire. An exasperated Trump administration will finally throw up its hand and say, you can't deal with these people, but they're not going to get a nuclear weapon. But by the end of the year, I don't think Iran will have a nuclear deterrent. And then we're going to be watching a mystery unfold. If it should be hit, and if it should lose its nuclear potential, what will be the reaction of the Iranian people? Will they be angry that their national sovereignty has been attacked? Or will they be delighted that this 50-year hated regime is now gone and they don't have to spend money on these Arab terrorist groups that have brought them no profit? That'll be something to see, and I think we'll see it at the end of the year.
Many claim Trump promised a strict foreign policy doctrine, either isolationism or bold intervention.
You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that way? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble.
But that was never the deal. Trump isn't an ideologue. He's a populist-nationalist who asks one question. Is this in America's best interest? He rejected endless wars, not out of moral opposition, but because they made no sense. Why bleed and spend for nations that hate us or never change? And yet he was no dove. He crushed ISIS, killed Soleimani and al-Baghdadi, and warned both Putin and Kim Jong-un. It wasn't isolationism, it was Jacksonian, don't tread on me. His approach to Putin, not appeasement, strategy. Like Churchill with Stalin, Trump believed you could praise a tyrant while outmaneuvering him. He wasn't anti-Ukraine, he was anti-stalemate. After years of war, no progress and rising death tolls, he wanted resolution, not an endless "they're done." On Iran, he backs Israel's goals, but with caution. If nukes must be stopped, he'll act, but only if the cost benefits America. Trump prefers deals over destruction, unpredictability over weakness, and that's why. Putin didn't invade Ukraine under Trump. Iran's power began to fade, and allies, though annoyed, knew he'd defend the West when it truly counted. Trump's foreign policy wasn't reckless. It was strategic unpredictability. And it worked.
I'm kind of shocked, to be frank. I see all these military analysts on television, and they say the most astounding things. I don't want to mention anybody. And they said, well, we know that the THAAD and the Patriot and the Iron Dome and the Arrow and David Sling don't work. They're not keeping them out. A wave of 100, they take out 90, 93, 94%. That's amazing. Some of them are hypersonic. So that is crazy. And at the same time they're doing that, they're going after the launchers as the Americans did in the first Gulf War. So the point I'm making is that Iran, when they make those boasts, it's on the fumes of prior passivity. They think to themselves, well, Obama wanted to get into a negotiation with it. Ben Rhodes, his assistant national security, had thought it was a great deal. They sent us $400 million at night on pallets and in cash. And Joe Biden begged us to get back in. John Kerry was meeting stealthily with Jair. So they're afraid of us. So they don't quite get who's in the White House. He doesn't give a blank about their leadership or their threats. Trump is having dissensions in the MAGA-American First ranks. The Tucker Carlsons, Steve Bannon, Candace Owens, Representative Massey, Rand Paul are angry that he is considering an optional preemptive strike in the Middle East, which, according to the MAGA doctrine, we don't do that.
Why should you go die in a foreign land?
I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen.
And I would have said a few weeks ago that Trump would never do that to you. He would never just throw you into an Israeli war. But right now, our planes are flying in the sky and things are going nuclear.
He's arguing that, I think he said, because he replied directly to Tucker, called him kooky.
My supporters are America first. They make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that.
He's saying that he is a Jacksonian, a Gadsden flag, don't tread on me, or Lucius Sollas's no better friend, no worse enemy, kind of a deterrence. We don't want to look for trouble. We don't like to intervene. But from time to time, Baghdadi in the first term, Soleimani in the first term, Wagner Group in the first term, Little Rocket Band, when people take advantage of our magnanimity, we have to show them who's boss. So I think Trump feels that he has given leeway to the Iranian theocracy. And again, they don't take the offer. And what is the offer? The offer is to become something like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the Emirates, Kuwait. In other words, a very wealthy sheikdom in the Middle East that doesn't support terrorist appendages. I know people are going to say, well, wait a minute, bin Laden, Saudi Arabia. I know that. But we're talking about right now. I think we kind of set them straight on that. And Iran doesn't want that agenda. They believe in a Shia crescent. Tehran, Beirut, Gaza, Damascus, Yemen. And it's a rival bloc to the Sunni Arab bloc. This is the Persian Shia bloc. And they want to spread turmoil, and they feel they're going to inherit the Middle East. And so they're not going to negotiate, because to negotiate would put them out of business. But the problem they have right now is they are a terrorist nation without any terrorists. They are bragging that they were going to be a nuclear power without any apparent nukes. They think they're the preeminent, decisive, conventional threat in the Middle East, but they're not threatening anymore to anybody. And when you look at around all their assets, Russia's no longer a patron, a power, a protector. The Assad dynasty is gone from Syria. It's flipped from pro-Shia Persian, that Arab dynasty, to, at best, Sunni, at worst, maybe with ties of Al-Qaeda. But whatever it is, it doesn't like Iran. And then Gaza, Hamas is inert. Hezbollah is inert. The Yemenis are Houthis. I don't know what to say about them. They're emasculated. So the whole facade of Iran as this dynamic, revolutionary, fervent, boiling state of anger with all these, it's been destroyed. Israel's destroyed it. And Donald Trump has maximum pressure. It can't sell oil. And Israel is systematically disarming and denuclearize it. From what we can gather, Iran does not have a ballistic missile that can reach the United States. So he doesn't have to fly around. I think what he's trying to do is he's sending B-2s that are capable of dropping a bunker buster of a magnitude to destroy these facilities. He's sending the old B-1s in there that they have the lift capacity. Maybe they could do it too if they're adapted to it. We have about 40 or 50 of these huge bombs. And he's sending 2 carrier groups. That means he's got 2 of those Arleigh Brook, what we used to call destroyers, are now frigates. There's probably 2 or 3 nuclear subs in those 2 groups when they get there. And they've probably got 150 to 180 F-35s and Super Hornets. Then you've got bases in Qatar. I mean, I don't think the Iranians, I feel sorry for the Iranian people to be run by these lunatics that keep all this braggadocio, and they've spent all these trillions of dollars over the last 50 years arming all these thugs, Hezbollah, Hamas, and they could have been doing so much for their own people. And it's everybody says everybody hates them, and they probably do hate them, but it's the old, as I keep quoting, the Aesop fable about the poor mice that need to put the bell around the cat's neck. Who's the brave mouse that wants to get killed first and eaten? So who are the brave people that want to rise up against the regime before it's completely weakened and they're going to get killed? No one knows how much fissionable uranium that's been enriched to 60 up to 90% there is. People suggest that there's enough for 9 to 12 bombs. And some of these places are under 100 yards of solid rock. So the question is, now that Israel has destroyed their defenses, destroyed their command and control hierarchy, destroyed their physicist and nuclear scientist, going after the armed forces hierarchy, destroyed their air defenses and what was their air force. Now it has to decide, can it destroy these heavily reinforced nuclear sites? And there's a lot of talk about it. Some people say, well, they killed Nasrallah. They have small 2,000 to 4,000 pound bunker busters. And they have complete air control, and there's no hurry. So all they have to do is send one like a pencil, through a pie, and then another one, and then another one, and another one, 7, 8, 10, 12, just keep hammering the hole. Other people say, well, no, they need a B-2 stealth bomber. Maybe a B-1 could handle it, but it's not it could carry the weight, 30,000 pounds. And then do we give them that? They know how to operate it. They could do it. But then we're a participant directly, or do we do it ourselves and the MAGA base gets bad? And we get into this question. Some people have suggested that just like the mother of all bombs, those with the daisy cutters you drop and they send shrapnel and they're just horrific weapons, they are dropped by a C-130 that can carry up to 40,000 pounds. So people say, well, if they have air superiority and there's no danger of a slow-moving transport plane being refueled and shot down, why not give it to the Israelis? Have them. Why not give them a couple of these huge 30,000-pound bunker busters, and they can put them on a C-130 transport with some radical modifications? So there's all these ideas floating, but they get down to the point that Donald Trump is not a Lindbergh isolationist. He is a Jacksonian, as I said. Right now, he's trying to calculate, I do things in the interest of the United States, and I do that through a cost-to-benefit analysis. On the plus side, if you can get rid of Iran that has killed Americans for 50 years and is the troublemaker in the entire Middle East and will threaten Europe and us one day with a nuclear weapon, then that would be very good. So we support that, and we support Israel that Iran has targeted. However, in a cost-to-benefit analysis, what are the costs of that? Because that's what he is, a Jacksonian. He's not a neoconservative nation builder, interventionist. He's not an isolationist. And the costs are, he is examining right now, will they attack Americans at other bases? How many? He's kind of, I think, waiting till the Israelis say to him, we've got most of the missile launchers. But we don't know to what degree all these installations in Syria and Iraq are well protected by patriots. We don't know that. And then second, he's asking himself, what will it do to my domestic agenda? if we have oil prices spike and we have a big war and I'm trying to get inflation down to lower interest rates, etc. And then he's saying, what do I do with my MAGA base? Will they say this is an optional forever war? Will Tulsi Gabbard resign? Will Tucker go on and blast me? He's kind of said he didn't care about that. And then finally, to what degree are Israel's interests parallel to ours? I think 90% of them get the bomb out. They should. Trump, when he does this analysis, he should take it out. But here's the final comment, and that is, we are at a point in the war, 5 days in, that they have done so much damage to Iran that if they don't put the proverbial bell around the cat's neck, then all of that's for naught. Because what will happen is the Iranians will emerge from the wreckage and they will say, the most powerful country in the world, the United States, with all of its weapons they gave the little Satan. They bombed us. They did everything. We hit them back, and guess what? They quit. And we still have our nuclear option. So once you cross the Rubicon, you cross the Rubicon. As Napoleon said, if you're going to take Vienna, take Vienna. So if you're going to get into this mess, then do it. And I think right now Trump is warning the Iranians, you can still get out of this by negotiations, but he doesn't believe that. But he's also telling the Israelis, can't you come up with some type of methodology to destroy these reinforced mountainsides that have fissionable material beneath them? You have all the time in the world. You have superior. Just keep hitting them. And maybe we'll give you a big bunker buster, and you guys are brilliant. Just adapt it to a C-130. They can carry 40,000 pounds. Or maybe they'll let him use a B-2, but I don't think he wants American fingerprints directly on the attack. Finally, all the MAGA people have said, the base has said, well, this is a wider war. But then you have to break that down. Russia's been talking some things that are kind of scary, but drones, the Iranians have already made plants and fabrication assembly ability inside Russia. So Russia's building Iranian drones. Putin doesn't mind the price of oil going up. He would love to see it go from 50, 60, 70 back up to over 100. He doesn't care about that. And if Europe doesn't get their oil, more power to it. So he would like to have more money, and he's already bogged down in Ukraine. He doesn't have the wherewithal to go in and intervene. And Trump is pretty smart. He mentioned, well, maybe Vladimir wants to negotiate. Well, that's kind of throwing him a bone, and maybe that will ease tensions in his negotiations over Ukraine. And what is the Chinese idea? China's idea is that temper. We take 80% of the pre-embargoed Iran oil was ours. 50% of every drop of oil out of the Middle East that goes out of the Straits of Hormuz goes to us. Don't do anything. So they're not going to intervene. So when everybody says a wider war, what are the Arab countries going to do? The Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Saudis are going to say, how dare you hit a fellow Islamic nation? No, they're going to privately say, look, Israelis, we've got to give every noon, we're going to have a press conference and we're going to damn you as an Islamic phobic Zionist entity. But please don't take that seriously and just finish the job.